How you doing, guys? Welcome to my channel. Today what I'm going to do on this 1993 Jeep is replace the stabilizer ends and the bushings. Now the bushings and the stabilizer ends are all sloppy on this thing, so as I was driving on the road I can feel the front end bouncing around and it won't stay steady in its lane. So what a stabilizer bar does, it kind of connects to the front end, and it connects to the frame, and basically just kind of holds everything a lot more steady so it's not over the place. And so basically that's what I'm going to do today, and I'm going to show you, so stick around and watch the video. So this is the stabilizer bar. Comes across from one side to the other. You can see how it attaches over there, right there. And it's bolted to the frame in two spots. There's these little bushings that are in there that kind of hold everything steady, along with the bushings on this end right here. You can tell just from age, it's all cracked and wore out. And this part right here, this end piece, you can tell it's moving around right there. The stabilizer bushing itself, if you look, kind of hard to tell on camera, but it is moving quite a bit. And so what I'm gonna do is that's what we're gonna replace. We're gonna replace those ends and these bushings in here, and that thing's gonna be super tight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these two bolts out right here on this on the bushing here, and on the other side, on the other part of the frame. And then what that's gonna do is this bar here is gonna fall. And then what I'll do is I'll just disconnect it from the bottom right there. And then I'll just take the whole bar out of the vehicle. And then I'll just attach them while it's on the ground over here. Then I'll throw it back up and then put some bushing on to be done. It's a relatively easy job, but it's gonna make a world of difference how the vehicle drives. Okay, that one took a while. See how it dropped? Now, these bolts right here, since it's been so long, if it's ever even been replaced, this thing was pretty much seized up. So what I did to free it up is it moved about 1/8 of a turn, and then I would tighten it back up, and then move about 1/8 of a turn, then tighten. I kind of went back and forth, and then I shot some PV blaster in there and just kind of working it back and forth, and I finally was able to get it out. So just a little tip right there. I mean, if you see that it's gonna break or it just won't come off, take it easy and be careful, because what's gonna happen is you're gonna actually wind up snapping the head off in there. Then you really got more problems. Then you gotta get a torch and more extractor, and most likely, like, sometimes you could weld like a nut on the broken stud, and then the heat will kind of help it expand, and you can like take it out like that. But all right, so these bolts are pretty tight, so I got a little cheater pipe on it. And now what's gonna do is I'll just do that for the first few turns. Luckily for me, that bolt on the other side there is not moving, so all I have to do is just take that nut off. And I already did the other one on the other side. And then what I'll do is I'll just tap it out, because it's gonna move a little bit because of the bushings and stuff like that. So once I get that nut off, I'll take it completely out of the vehicle. All right, guys, so here's the stabilizer bar, the whole entire thing. As you can tell, these bushings are just shot. I don't know if you get a good shot of it right there. Absolutely way too much going on right there. Half the bushings even missing. So I think it's a good call to replace these, and these as well. These ends right here are really loose, and so we're gonna make sure that we change these out as well. Some force, but I got it going. So it's off, so I'm gonna take these. They normally have a split on them. You just open the split, pop them right off, good to go. Go the other side, same thing. The split right here. Just take it off. Now we're good. Now I'm gonna do on this other side, flip it around, then take this nut off, and I'm basically gonna, pretty simple, it just slides right out. All right, guys, I got the stabilizer ends off right there and there, and basically my little battery impact wasn't up for the task, so I had to use some air power, and then I held it with these vice grips here. So it's pretty simple. Basically, just feed it through, And see how it's sticking off the top? Bushings have a little end on them. Those always go toward the hole. So we got that in the hole. These little washers are concaved. Put it concave side down. And then the nut. And I'm just gonna kind of gun it on there until the little bushings kind of mushroom out, not too much. A couple things I want to mention before I actually start putting it together is I notice how this thing is kind of bent right there. You always gonna kind of try to note what position it was, and I believe it was like that. So I'm gonna kind of hammer it down right there, and then just leave it a little bit loose, and then when it's actually in the vehicle, and then I'll put a wrench on it and tighten it down all the way. And also too, make sure before you order parts, measure your bar, because I made the mistake of not looking and I just ordered the first one I saw and it was too big. And so then I had to measure it, then I actually was able to get the right one. That side on. I'm just gonna take these, spread them on there. I got the thing kind of halfway in there. It's loose, of course. And then once I spread this open and stick it on the bar, then I'll raise it up and I'll start putting it on there. Then I'm gonna tighten everything down. All right, so I spread the bushing open. It's a little tight and it's kind of hard to do that. So I had to put the camera down for a minute to do that. And once I got them in place, I put the top back on. Again, the top just kind of slides back on. And so basically I left, one of the reasons why I left it loose is when you raise it up, it's gonna be off a little bit. So it gives you a way to kind of push on a little bit, because now it's starting to load it back up. And so it's a little bit of a fight, but it's not too difficult. You guys could do it. All right guys, so what I had to do is I pushed on it, and then when I was able to push back on it, I was able to get those holes lined up. And then as I was holding it, I just kind of started each screw on both sides. And then, so now I got all the bolts in there. I'm gonna snug them up, and then I'm gonna put a wrench on that nut. Remember, that was on top of this linkage right here. And then I'll tighten up these as well. Then I'll double check everything. Then it's time for a road test. So I'll snug them a little bit first. Back and forth. Hit 'em with it. Other side. The reason why I do it like that, I don't want to cross thread it. So if it feels like it's not going in, I don't want to keep wailing on it. So that's why I kind of start slow a little bit back and forth. You can feel as you're ratcheting it on there, getting it close. It gets a little tighter just because that bushing is starting to kind of get spread out a little bit and nice and tight. But you know when it's nice and tight. See, it's kind of like, there we go. That's pretty good. That one's on there. Now I'm gonna do the other one, and the other one, the nut on top of that. So to double check the torque in this nut, I just went through the wheel well area, and it's pretty tight, so go to the other side. All right guys, everything's tight. Got all those bolts tight. I went and double checked my work. Those bolts are tight. I try to grab it and see if there's any play or movement in the bushing. That thing is solid, so it'll definitely help the ride not be so all over the place. All right guys, now it's time for the test drive. Later.